You've been told a real man carries it alone. That's not strength. That's isolation. A prison sentence you willingly accepted, locked the door, and gave away the keys. Here's what nobody tells you. The strongest thing a man will ever say is, I'm not okay. Not because being broken makes him weak, but because admitting it is the only door transformation has ever walked through. Tonight, four words that could change the back half of your life. Admitting you're broken unlocks real transformation. Stay with us as we unpack this profound topic with the intention of liberating the men of our society on the hearts of men.
I spent so long thinking I had to fight this by myself. But I can stand here today because y'all stood with me. Because you stood with me.
We got you. Always.
That's right, man. I ain't alone anymore.
No, you're not. Good. Stretch. Good.
Good, good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of The Hearts of Men. My name is Dwayne Dwyer. I go by the Mindset Coach, and I'm joined by my brother and son of Timothy, the available man, Mr. Tawami Gaddy himself. Bro, how you doing on this beautiful Friday evening?
Man, I cannot complain. It is Friday. I'm here with my big bro. You already know it's about to go down. I'm excited. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Me too. Been a pretty busy week. Had a lot of moving parts. And some moving parts you guys are going to get to see. So we'll look forward to sharing that stuff with you guys. Look forward to you guys participating in it as well because I am anxious to see how you will benefit from it. And make no mistake about it, I think that is the just kind of like the foundation of it all, like seeing, the outcomes that you're experiencing. A lot of great feedback coming from counting sheep and losing souls. So thank you guys for that. And that being said, man, if you have not picked up your copy, go ahead and scan the QR code up top so that you can get your copy. Because, like I said, at a later point in time, we are going to have a kind of like a book review for everybody who purchased the book and everybody who wants to participate. We're going to get together and kind of talk about this book and not only just talk about the things specific to this book, but kind of like what you got from it. Because it's a lot of things that are going on here. So thank you guys for your support and greatly appreciate that. Also, for you guys who want to support the community, that's what that QR code is. So again, every gift that you give the community, we greatly appreciate it. It goes back into the community so that we can give you things as well. So again, greatly appreciate that. Look, I want to say welcome to the livest chat in social media because listen, you guys show up. I can't say that enough. You guys show up. And I want you to understand that we greatly appreciate you guys showing up. So that being said, on this channel, on this network, we like to recognize you by name. So if you have not done so yet, make sure that you get in the comment section say good evening, hello, hi, 2 thumbs up, smiley face, whatever it is you want to do. But please don't forget to hit that like button and share it. That way other people can kind of benefit from this information that you're going to get tonight. So that being said, I want to make sure that I give you guys a shout out. Good evening and welcome, the rebirth of Nick D. Always good to have you. Greatly appreciate the work that you do as well. Crystal Everett, same to you. Good to see you. Welcome. And again, greatly appreciate the work that you're doing behind the scenes. Miss Robin Brower, good to see you and welcome. His Divine Appointment, good to see you and welcome. Atlas Keys, the Key Realtor, good to see you and welcome. Yes, it's Maya. I didn't do the head snap tonight, so don't judge me. Right. But yes, it's Maya. Good to see you and welcome. And again, wherever, whoever, I think it's there you go, Queen V, good to see you and welcome as well. Again, Skincare by Loretta James, good to see you and welcome. But again, wherever you are, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, get in the comment section and let us know that you're here. And not only that, make sure that you are participating in the conversation, share your thoughts, ask questions, because again, you guys are a vital part of every show. So, bro, you got anything you want to, you over there booting up, man? What you got?
No, man, it's sometimes I miss my brother because I had a petty moment in my head, and I was like, yeah, if he was here, it'd came out. And then I'm like, well, since we committed, when you said shout out, you said Miss Loretta James. I don't know why the first thing came to my head was Kevin Hart. When he's like, Miss Loretta, I'm ready for the rest of the tour.
Terrible. Oh man, that was not expecting that. You caught me off guard. But that is funny. Christina Ward, good to see you and welcome. Any other thoughts, concerns, things that I may have overlooked or missed? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Before we get started, tomorrow morning, reframing the image of relationship. I don't think you want to miss that one. So make sure that you're here tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, I think that is about it. Ready to go ahead and get started, bro? So, tonight's conversation, I've already did my monologue, so I don't have one now. Tonight's conversation is all about the power of acknowledging your brokenness. And I think for the most part, and I want everybody to understand this is the hearts of men, but brokenness does not care about a gender. I just want everybody to understand that. So as we're having this conversation, don't just look at it from a man's perspective. If you're a woman out there and you're in the comment section, comment from a woman's perspective as well, because I think it's good for us to kind of get both perspectives. Okay. So I want to start off with a very heavy question because again, this is what this is all about, right? And so I want to ask you, and I kind of already know the answer, not because I know you, but because I know people who live. And if you live long enough, you've been in this situation. So have you ever been in a place in your life where you felt broken? And if you have, can you describe what brokenness is to a man?
Woo, man. So, of course, I'm gonna say yes, and probably, and not probably more than once in life. And one time probably more recent than people would expect. Um, and for me, I only made one promise to myself in life, and that was, when I grew up, regardless of what I became, what I did for a living, if I had family, that was, that was where my mind and my heart went, to where to make it, because that was something that I did not see that often in our community growing up. So I was determined not to complete cycles. And then, you know, two different women. And this is, you sit there and you're like, dang, am I really that bad of a person? But you start looking and I didn't start, but when you have to actually apply what you see, the things that you realize are systemic in our community, or that's just widespread. I don't even, yeah, no, it's systemic too, but widespread in our community, and then it hits you. So for me, brokenness as a man, losing a job only breaks me if it keeps me from being able to feed my family, right? If people are not picking up where I'm putting down. So for me, like that brokenness, especially as an adult, as a grown man, has only to do with the ability to be what I'm supposed to be, or spiritually and biologically designed to be to my children, right? And so both women both had the idea that it was more important for their children to be raised by their family versus their children's mother and father. And so to have your children drug across the country, I would say for me as a man, that's enough to break you, at least for a little while. You can't stay broken.
I think it's interesting how identical our responses are, because I think for me, given the understanding of what manhood is all about, providing and protecting, that's pretty much all I heard growing up. Pretty much, given the glimpses of what I did see, those men provided and those men protected, for the most part. And I think moving into adulthood, getting married, and out there wearing my uniform, being all I can be, and ensuring that lights don't ever get turned off, ensuring food on the table, and all these different things, being able to provide them with the things that they wanted to do, not necessarily limiting them to the things that needed to be done. But then it got a point, and I'm not speaking for you, I'm speaking for me specifically. It came to a point that I've tried and I've tried, and we've had conversations, and I've tried and we had conversations, and we went to counseling and done this and done this. And it was just like a moment I remember distinctly, to where it was like the last straw. It was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I literally told her when I got off that plane that I'm going straight to the lawyer's office, because in my mind, I didn't know what else to do. I was broke. I was at the point that I started questioning who I was. I was at the point to where I questioned everything that I was doing, because it's like, man, I'm I didn't go, I don't get it. I don't get it. And you don't want to say certain things in the midst of conversations. But it's like, you know, I'm not trying to be funny. Am I saying I was model perfect 100? Absolutely not. No one is that. Right. So I'm definitely not saying that. But there was a lot more good than there was bad. And that part I think I can say with a high degree of confidence. And it just got to the point to it's like, I don't know. I don't know what else to do. I didn't know who to call. I didn't know anything. And it just I was just done. And so for me as a man, it was like you question who you are as a man, because everything that you knew as a man was rooted in provision and protection. And again, limited as that scope is, that's what I knew. And I'm not saying that the scope was accurate. I'm just saying that my understanding of manhood was just limited to that. And if I couldn't do that, like you just said, like what, that's kind of like my core existence. I can't really have a hand in raising my kids and all these other great stuff. So, and I'm not saying that it's only a man's responsibility to raise the kids, but I'm saying with us together, that's what we're supposed to be doing. And I was just frustrated, bro.
And I'm not even, I wouldn't even put that add on the backside of what you just said, because when we had, now please love me as I use this reference, because I'm not talking about the organization, but what we the people was standing for, right? So you remember when the whole BLM thing, you know, and to almost be made to apologize, to have to remind people that Black Lives Matter, right? It's crazy that you have to remind a nation that you predominantly built, that you matter, right? Um, but in the same token, I feel the same way with the statement you just said. We're not. I don't have to say, mothers matters as well, because we live in a society that hyperfixates on motherhood and takes almost all emphasis off of fatherhood when talking about parenting. And so I'm not apologizing for bringing that awareness that, hey, fathers matter, and we have to get into a place to where men don't feel some sort of way when someone say mothers matter, and women don't feel some sort of way when men say fathers matter. In fact, we should be saying it for you. The fact that we have to champion that is
Yeah.
the problem. You know what I mean? I could just stop right there.
No, you're good. You're good. No, you're absolutely right. And what I was explaining more is that I wasn't saying that the only reason I wanted to stay was for the kids. That's not what I'm saying. Even though I'm not gonna lie, at times we kind of use that as a talking point. You know what I'm saying? So no, you're absolutely right. And I think you're spot on as you say that, because I mean, that's just the world that we live in. And we joke around as it pertains to when it comes on to Father's Day versus Mother's Day and all those other things. But again, that's a whole different talking point. But again, it's the brokenness, and I really would like to see in the comment section, like I said, I understand this is the hearts of men, and the question is specifically to a man from another man. But don't be afraid to tell us what it looks like, from your perspective as well, because men don't know, not unless you have an honest conversation with someone and just share it. And that's the beauty of this platform. Like, no one is going to say, well, that's not what brokenness look like to a woman, especially if you're a man. So that's just it. So I just want to kind of share that. And as we're getting ready to dive into it again, if you have not done so yet, make sure that you hit that like button. Make sure that you share it. Because again, this I think is going to be a lot that we're going to unpack. That said, we're starting with talking point number one. And talking point number one is all about admitting you're broken is strength, not weakness. I say again, admitting you're broken is strength, not weakness. The world trained men to equate silence with strength. But naming your brokenness out loud is the single most courageous act a man can actually perform. And the mislabeling of it as weakness is costing men their lives, if you really think into it. Now, Brene Brown said also, vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage. Truth and courage aren't words, aren't always comfortable, right? They're not words that's always comfortable, but they're never weakness. And scripture tells us in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9, it says, and he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in your weakness. Now, that said, there are roughly about 65% of men say they're hesitant to seek professional help for stress, anxiety, or depression. And when a national crisis text service looked at who reaches out, fewer than 1 in 5 messages came from men, even though men account for about 80% of US suicides. This fact was cited in 2025. Men aren't just struggling, they're speaking up less, right? They're not just struggling, they're speaking up less, which to me is a recipe. So I want to ask you a question as it pertains to this, Gary. Why do so many men experience asking for help as losing their standing as a man? And where did they first learn that, in your opinion?
So I think for me, I have to answer this question kind of backwards. Kind of have to start at where did they experience it first, because then I think there we get into the why um, as it develops. So I'm looking at three different points in a man's life to where this lesson, the way we've experienced it, becomes detrimental, right? Um, and hopefully you haven't experienced all three, but I believe all men have experienced at least one of these moments, right? One is when your mama punch you in your chest and tell you shut up, you're a boy, right? Got nothing. I'm talking to younger men, right? I don't, our mamas did some things now, punching us in the chest. I don't know. Some of us got that, but that would, we had our options. Yeah. But that shut up, you're a boy, that's detrimental to your young boy, right? Teaching them how, and I think I've said this when the first time I've had this conversation, it's not the fact that it's not okay to cry, but how to handle emotions as a man is a skill that needs to be taught. Secondly, if you have your father in the home, I think most men have experienced the first time the father had to show that he didn't have it in front of his children. You see that sign of needing help actually start breaking him in real time if you see it on his face. It, what's sad is that I'm about to say this, like, My father wasn't in my home the majority of my life, but I know that I'm one of the few that had that were able to experience seeing that in their father. Now that to me wasn't too much of a detriment because my father kind of put life lessons behind the moment, right? And he lessened the blow. But I was I was so focused on my father's reaction in those moments. I was watching how he responded to needing someone else because he was always the guy that everyone needed. You know, he was Superman for us, like everybody said about their daddy at moments, right? Um, and then the hardest spot is when you become a man, and the first time your your first serious girlfriend, your wife or your whoever, hopefully not 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 your children, dismiss the moment you try to open up and let them know that you needed them. And when and the way that is handled, the way that moment, that initial moment is managed, will determine, I would say, at least the next 5 years in his emotional availability when it comes to communicating in that situation. And so I think because we experience it from different levels, which I was just trying to show, like which one comes first. It depends on the experience, right? But these are different levels of which men face this, hey, man up mentality, this whole, hey, you're a man, you just got to deal with it mentality. And so why? Because it has become our societal norm. It has become our our baseline of how we operate. The reason why you have to understand the reason why when we have these relationship conversations and arguments, and sometimes you be sitting there and you scratching your head, it's because sometimes a lot of times you what you hear is people saying, but why do you have a problem? Why do you feel some sort of way? It's just girls doing whatever they want to do. Why do men have opinion? Because in a lot of people's mind, you're a man, you're just supposed to deal with whatever comes. If what I do brings negative effect, and I had a woman tell me this, I'm not going to say it's the woman I married, but that, you know, if that what they did had a negative effect because I'm a man, I'm just supposed to fix it and deal with it. Exactly. So I'm a hoe right there.
I'm laughing because I remember hearing something similar to that years ago. It was different though. It was said in jest, but nonetheless, it still was said. Um, I'm agreeing with you. I think the first level or the first issue is that's what we've seen modeled, right? You know, why do so many men experience asking for help as losing their standing as a man? Because we never really seen growing up men asking for help. It's not something. It wasn't the norm. Then you go back to your upbringing, right? Get up, stop crying, wipe that dirt off. You know, you know you had the commercial that said never let them see you sweat. Well, we had a secret, you know, conversation to it. We were told never let them see you cry. You know, stuff like that. And it sounds almost comical, but no, it's really the truth. That's just kind of like how it was. So we never really seen it modeled before. So never really seen men asking for help. We were raised in a culture that said, "Hey, if you can't get it with your own means, then you don't need it." So at the end of the day, there's no need to ask nobody for help. But it's like it kind of shuts off an aspect of who you are and have a better understanding moving forward, right? But then where did they first learn it from? I can't necessarily say whether the teaching came before the modeling or the modeling came before the teaching, but nonetheless, the first hint of it reinforced the other one. So if someone told me, "Get up, don't cry, never let them see you," you know, never let them see you cry, whatever the case may be, and then I never see a man who asked for help, they just dealt with whatever's came, regardless of how, you know, debilitating it was, then it's like they're low key teaching you to do the same thing. So for me, that's the one that makes sense. That's the thing that stands out because it becomes part of your core understanding of manhood. So that's just kind of like my response to everything. And again, it's pretty much the same. And again, I like it because you grew up north. I grew up down south, and I think a lot of times, I think a lot of times we believe that we're two totally separate entities. We grew up differently. And no, not really. If you really pay close attention to it, we have very similar upbringings and things of that nature. So, greatly appreciate that, man. Greatly appreciate everybody's response in the comment section. I'm going to go and grab those in a hot second. However, I think the first thing I want to do before doing that is I want to bring up a poll. Now, that said, the data is clear. I want to start with that. The data is clear. Fear of appearing weak, not lack of awareness, is the dominant barrier. 65% of men hesitant to seek help. Name the fear and it loses its grip. So the question for you in this poll is what most often keeps a man from admitting he's broken. Do you believe it's number one, he doesn't realize he's struggling? Number two, he genuinely has no time. Number three, he's afraid admitting it makes him look weak. And number four, he think it isn't serious enough to mention. Now, I'm curious and interested to see how some of these responses are. And again, not asking you to be a man, but you knew men. You was married to a man. You seen a man, your dad, so you have an awareness. And again, maybe they didn't tell you. Maybe they fall into the same category that myself and Gaddy did, and they didn't necessarily share those things with you. All of that, in my opinion, it bears weight. It should be something that we should consider. And as we're going through the polls again, keep chiming in, keep leaving your responses, keep answering questions from your perspective, because I think it's important. And we're going to grab those here in a second. But I want to move on as you guys answer the poll to talking point number 2. Now, talking point number 2 is the mask is heavier than the wound. Pretending to be fine is more exhausting and more dangerous than the pain a man is hiding. The mask doesn't protect him. It isolates him from the very people and the very God who can help him carry it. Now, Carl Jung said the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Now, you got to let that set in for a second. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 28, verse 13, it says, "He that covereth his sins shall not prosper. But whoso confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy." That said, the cost of the mask is not abstract. In most recent CDC data back in 2024, the suicide rate among men is nearly 4 times higher than among women. And men make up, again, roughly 80% of U.S. suicides, while being about 49% of the population. See, now it starts to take full circle. 80%, 49%. Less than half of the population, but make up more suicides as it pertains to it. The mask is not harmless. It is heavy enough to be fatal. So, bro, my next question for you. What is the hidden price a man pays to keep up appearances year after year in his body, his marriage, and his faith?
It'd be nice if I unmute my button too before I start talking. Man, but in his body, marriage, and his faith, it makes it interesting. What is the hidden price a man pays to keep up appearance, right? To keep up an appearance, a lot of times mean to swallow a lot of pride. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of things that you allow slide for the sake of peace, for the sake of not hurting people's feelings, for the sake of, whatever the scenario is. I think a lot of times what men do is we don't want discord. So we'll settle for quietness, that kind of peace, right? So we know here in this community what we're talking about when we talk about our different pieces, right? And so, but because of that constant holding everything in, that constant not showing a certain level of emotion, so you're not looked at as weak, so you're not looked at as not capable as a man, or because you feel, sometimes it's because I don't feel like anybody really cares. That's the silent part that a lot of people don't talk about with men. Everything else that I said, yes, and more. But the hard part about why a lot of men stay quiet is because we don't really believe you care. All right. And who's you? Whoever we're hiding our emotions from, right? Not necessarily because we can't express it. It's because it will be mismanaged if it's expressed. At work, sometimes it can be looked at as weakness if we express. And so because of these things, we hold and we bottle everything in. And so body, we already know how that added stress plays on our body, right? And everything, all this information we putting out is for education and entertainment purposes only. Just got to know that. So, but excuse me. But when we say that, that's added stress on the body is known to cause issues. Some of the same issues that your diet will cause, like your blood sugar will be irregulated, your blood pressure will be irregulated. Been known to lead to heart attacks and strokes and stuff like this, migraines and all kind of things that can happen because of added stress. That's the toll it takes on your body. What it takes on your marriage, in your faith, see, in your body, this all plays a part because it now has a mental effect on you. Now, see, because everybody talks about emotional availability, I can't have no emotional availability if I don't have no mental availability. Because I've practiced so long shutting out mentally so I can survive in my current situation that at some point I forgot how to turn it back on. Because now mentally, I forgot how to mentally show up in the home because I had to shut out in the home so I can ignore the constant disrespect, the constant undermining, the constant I've got to do it my way. I'm like, because I'm telling you, you snatch a man out of his position, his ability to lead in the home, he will shut all the way down. And you'll just have him, he'll just show up, pay the bills, and go lock himself in his office room, whatever he got, he gonna lock himself in it. You wonder why that man's spending, and contrary to popular belief, you wonder why that man's spending extra time on the throne with his phone, because he don't want to come out. He's found a quiet place. All right, and we laugh about it, but a lot of people have a lot of other assumptions. But really, I hate to put it that way, but and byproduct, your marriage, not just your marriage, but even your relationship with how you're raising your children, the thing you start compromising because you no longer have the energy to exert into proper discipline, and sometimes because your mental is not there. You're like, I'll deal with that later. Y'all go in your room. And now they just got away with whatever they did. Last year you asked about his faith. Listen, after you snatch that man's ability to lead, that man's ability to be vulnerable in his own home, his ability to have a conversation with you about things that he's dealing with, the next thing that goes is his identity. Who am I? I don't even have respect in my own home. How can I go to work and be a supervisor here? How can I lead soldiers? I can't even lead my own home. I don't even make decisions where my own money gets spent. And I got but now my identity is being messed with. Yes, that's affecting every space that I'm in, but now it's affecting my faith. Why? Because without identity, well, the problem is because my identity probably wasn't rooted in the word and in the Most High in the first place. But but because of that, and that finding that space, when I lose sight of that identity, now because of that, I don't even know what I believe. Or even if I don't know what I believe, I don't even know if I'm good enough to come to the Most High right now. I'm too broke. You can be broken enough that you feel too broken to come to the Father. It's exhausting to bring your brokenness to the Most High. Let's just call a spade a spade. A lot of people we go out there and we start witnessing to people and act like it's just easy money. Just come to Jesus. Come to Jesus right now. Right? We remember the song, right? And we think they're just gonna come run. Do you know the ones that came to the altar that you didn't go get off the street? You know, some of them been fighting their way to that altar for 20 years. And they get to the church and some of y'all treat them like, never mind. That wasn't the question. So, but that, to me, that hits all three of this right here. So I think that identity really comes back in all everything. I believe everything I said actually goes into all three of these layers, and it plays a part in me being able to show up in every space. I have to show up for my own health. I have to show up for my own marriage and my own family. I have to show up in my faith, right? Because what is my faith without works? I can't work if I don't show up. But guess what? I ain't working because I don't believe that I am called or capable to work, because I don't have my own identity. Man, this rabbit hole goes deep. I can keep going, but I'm gonna shut up, Jack.
It's so let me apologize to everybody first. Apparently, I have the wrong polls loaded. So you got the first snippet of the poll for tomorrow. So you know that's you're already ahead of the program. So I do apologize for that. But don't worry, I got some questions for you guys coming up after this one. This is a very interesting question, and if we're careful, if we're not careful, then we will think they're totally separate from one another. This is separate from this one, which is separate from this one, and it's not. They're all interconnected, and I mixed them up intentionally. They're not in order, right? At least not in the right order. And the reason why they're not in the right order is because in most cases you were never taught them in the right order. So you were taught body management first before you understood marriage. And then in most cases, faith came afterwards. Sure, we may have attended church later, when you were younger, but that was just it. You were just going to church. And I can't speak for everybody out there. I can only speak for myself. You was just going to church. You wasn't retaining anything coming out of church. It wasn't like you was doing a Bible study in the home. We didn't have a home that looked like what the Bible says. So at the end of the day, faith wasn't first. Body was first, right? Now, that said, we lived according to the better right ministry. Use what you got to get what you want, right? Or it's a man's world. Either way, whichever way you want to go. So now the body became first, then the marriage, now the faith, right? Because in all actuality, now church, you still went to church in between all of this. Church just wasn't the primary thing. Why? Because your faith was not the primary thing that your identity was rooted in. Now, for anybody who is disagreeing with what I'm saying, unless you can say honestly within yourself that your faith was the primary thing that your identity was rooted in, with a certain degree of honesty, then the only other alternative is like, yep, I get it. What he says makes sense. So body first, then marriage, then faith, right? Or the image of either or, faith and marriage, however you want to look at it. Why does this matter? Because what I'm seeing in my life is the evidence of what I'm actually believing. But if the evidence does not line up with what I say I believe, then I'm either questioning the evidence or I'm questioning the belief, one or the other. So if I'm married now and the evidence in my home does not line up with what I say I believe as marriage is supposed to be, now I'm questioning either self, body, or I'm questioning what's on the outside marriage. That is it. We may have gotten married and may have went to church in the beginning and put on a good show, but then eventually going to this church kind of fade to black because one part will say, I ain't going to that church no more. I get it, right? I understand. And so because this person stopped going to church, then the idea is that, well, I'm going to keep going because this is, the right thing to do. Well, no, maybe not, but okay, I get it. So one is at church, one is at home. But again, we're talking body, marriage, and faith. And what we don't necessarily grasp at that particular point in time is faith encompasses all of it. Faith encompasses marriage, faith encompasses body. Because ideally, what you believe according to your faith tells you what to do, how you are supposed to behave according to your body, and how you're supposed to behave in the marriage. But if we disconnect them and think them are things that we do, then that's what we'll do. So what we'll do is we perform in our body. So we go to the gym, we get fine clothes and all that other great stuff. We put on our best versions of ourselves at work, looking the part, but then go home broken, right? We go out in public, everybody think everything is just fine, but we go home and we go to the four corners of the house and don't even talk to one another. We may not even be sleeping in the same bed at a certain point in time, right? And so that being said, there is a huge disconnect. And like Gaddy said, that creates what I tend to call a slow cortisol drip. It's like being in a low grade of fight of okay, let me ask it like this. I want you to put a chat or a one in the comment section if you ever experienced this at any given point in time in your life. You was at work, you tried to stay at work for as long as you possibly can, or your spouse was at work and you were fine while your spouse was away. But the minute you walked through the door, or the minute your spouse walked through the door, you started feeling some type of anxiety, some type of angst within you, simply because in your mind, you know, it was only a matter of time before it popped off. If you ever experienced that in your life, I want you to put a number 1 in the comment section. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. Get my point now? So we cannot say that these things are not connected. How you view your relationship, how you so now moving forward, what does that create? That creates lowered defense mechanisms in your system, that increases opportunities for you to get sick, and increases opportunities for dis-ease, right? Because you are in a constant state of dis-ease, therefore disease becomes available. So you get sick for no reason, always something going on, get headaches, all these things happening, high blood pressure, like Gaddy says, so forth and so on. All these things are happening. Why? Because you're in a constant state of heightened awareness. That's why. So when you look at the effects, like bring the question back real quick. When you look at the effects behind this right here, this here alone, the hidden price is sickness, mental distress, emotional disconnection. It is a heavy price to pay because at the end of the day, you have tied yourself to someone, whether it's that person or you, and for whatever reason, maybe neither one of you understood what marriage looked like. And because you never really understood what a marriage looked like, you decided to graduate from MSU. And so you was going to make stuff up as time went on. And because you decided to make stuff up, that other person didn't agree to it, or I didn't agree to it. And so now we're going back and forth, constantly arguing, upset, in a state of non-cohesiveness in a space where collaboration is supposed to be. That's it. I hate to say it that way. And it's not so much, I think I've seen somebody, I don't know who it was, somebody's made mention of outside. Yes. The outside will always confirm what you believe on the inside. So if you ignore the outside, then you're missing a large piece of evidence that your life is supposed to be grasping so that you can understand what you say you believe. But if I keep ignoring the external evidence, there is no evidence that I have to test what I believe. So it has to go that way. And it's an unfortunate thing, but it is. Go ahead.
I don't think a lot of people understand. So I like that you said that. I don't think a lot of people understand the mindset concept, right? I remember one time I wrote a sermon, I preached a sermon, said, it's all in your mind, right? Because it's how you allow it to develop here will determine how you begin to express it, and you know what you feel about your belief about all of these things, about what's going on, because your perception of what's happening, right? The idea of that mind over matter, we always see people use that for something physical. Or someone broke the Guinness World Record swimming across the country, swam some all the way to California. Somebody walked all the way to here. What? Right. So we get that mind over matter, but people don't understand that the scripture's been teaching that. I don't know how many verses you need that talks about changing the mind. Like, it's not like, yes, the external things come and happen, but this is why, and is you'll make the mistake, just like many of us have made the mistake, thinking that it's something automatic. I get to a level to where it's just automatic. No, you have to wake up and go after it. That's why That's why he wakes up and he delights himself in the law of the Lord. Like he's going after after the thing. But that's what we have to do with the mental. These trials, we know the scripture tells us these trials are going to come, but be of good cheer. That's a mindset change. For I have all overcome the world, right? Like these are we're not really understanding how this works. It's not an automatic turn on, but every day you got to feed the mind so you can psych. And it sounds crazy, but so that you can psych yourself out of focusing on the things that are here to distract us from whatever the goal is. My bad, coach.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm agreeing with you. And again, that's an important part for us to understand. Right? We cannot ignore, and I'm glad you guys picked that up. You cannot ignore what's going on the outside, because the thing that's on the outside is sharing with you that this is the thing that you created. Therefore, that is the evidence of your faith. So now either faith itself is wrong, which it can't be wrong, or the evidence is not lining up with it. So there has to be a disconnect. The evidence is the evidence, and the faith is not wrong. So now, if it's not the evidence and it's not the faith, then it has to be the belief. So now the belief has to change in order for me to change my belief, because God gave me the faith. My belief was shaped. So somebody got that, then they got that. But if they miss it, go back and listen to it again, because that's the key to it all. It's not the faith. The faith was given to you. It's not the evidence. The evidence is the evidence. That is the facts. So again, either the evidence is wrong or my faith is wrong. Well, neither or. So okay, well, if that's not right, they're not wrong, then what's the thing that's wrong? It's the thing that is actually adding fuel to it. It is the belief, because the belief is the only thing that changes. The faith doesn't change. It's the belief that changes. So now you got to change your belief if you want to change your belief. So now, how do you change your belief? You got to go back and unpack your bags. You got to go back and unpack everything that you thought you knew. And there lies the problem, because most of us, and I talked about this, but 2 weeks ago in Coach's Corner, most of us actually have guardrails and protectors around the thing that you know, and you're fighting to keep it simply because you know it. Well, here's the deal. Nobody has a responsibility to fight you for it. So the long as you want to keep it, fine. You'll get to keep it. So give it up. Let it go. Maybe you'll get some, maybe you'll, move beyond and get out of that space. But that's the key. Real quick, since I apologize again for the poll. Let's go back and grab some of these comments, and I'm gonna start up here with Nick D's comment, all the way at the top. This goes back to the beginning where she said, "Men in my family were not allowed to show any type of weakness. If they did, the women basically took over control of everything because they assumed the men could not handle business, etc." Not gonna say I've seen that as well. Next is His Divine Appointment said that my dad doesn't let anything surface emotionally outward. And see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, we have this notion that you got to be harder than woodpecker lips until you learn something different. Yes, yeah, I said that, harder than woodpecker lips. Y'all can use that. I don't patent it. Yes, as Maya, she said, yes, on my father's side, most of them served in the military, common denominator here. That culture is of sucking it up was passed to sons, and it's debilitating. Yep, that's the thing that's taught in the military. So most people who are in the military, that's what we're taught. We're taught to suck it up, deal with it, drive on. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Miss Christina Ward, she said a lot here. Okay. One part of brokenness for a woman such as me was having to play the woman and the man. Hold on, I'm sorry. The woman and the man role, pay bills, take care of kids, food, school, sports, doctor appointments, etc., because the father was never there. And I did not have family, just myself and the Lord. So I salute you, gentlemen. Fathers do matter, but as many are absent, and that's the sad part. Lately, it has been both ways, the mom and the dad dip. Raising 3 kids on my own into their adulthood, no child support, no dad around, only the Lord. Man. So thank you for sharing that, number one. And you guys should remember Christina Ward. She's been around. She had a different name on YouTube. I can't remember what it was. But raising something for Jesus. I think that's what it was. Anyway, there are situations, and I don't think it's as many as we believe, right? there are situations to where men don't want to be fathers at all. I'm just going to say they don't want to be fathers. I think that's not the rule. I think that's the exception. And I think a lot of times what we do, and I'm not downgrading anybody's experiences, I say this. I think a lot of times what we do is we over popularize social media, the media, over popularize the exception to the rule. The dads who have kids and just don't want nothing to do with the kids. I think that is a very small percentage of men. Then I think you have these group of people who have these relationships and they have kids, and for whatever reason, the relationship didn't work out. But now it's like, okay, well, this person get the kids. This person now got to do cheetah flips to spend time with the kids. And the only way they really get to spend time with the kids, for the most part, is according to what the court says and what this person says. They have zero say so. It has to be done the way the court said to do it or the way this person said to do it. Right. So then there's that. But then there's another small percentage of people who get together, they have kids, they figure it out, they stay together. They recognize that I'm not that important, you're not that important, but us staying together for the sake of these children and sticking to this thing that we're committed to, that's the important part. And to those people, I salute. Because I think this larger group that incorporates both of these, the people who didn't make it and the court decides what fatherhood looks like, and these people over here to where the father say, I don't want to play. I think this group of people are the one that needs a group hug. Come on in, bring it in. We gotta embrace y'all. Something is wrong. I cannot be a mother. Let me say it. Let me say it loud and proud. And I'm okay with saying that. There's no version of me that can ever replace a mother. And there's no version of me that wants to. I won't even give myself credit for motherly duties. Conversely, no woman can be a father. I don't care what story you tell yourself, and this is not directed at her because I've heard that my entire life. No woman can ever take the place of the father. You can be the best mother you can, absent the father. You still have to do certain things. I get it. But you're not the father, can't take the place of father, can't even do fatherly duties, none of that stuff. Only thing you can do is be a mother and be the best mother you can, and hopefully raise that young child up to be the best version of themselves that they can be, minus a portion of, their parenthood. That's it. And I get it. And that child is going to go through a portion of their life trying to put some things together simply because that other parent is missing. I think that's part of the thing that we have to get in. There is no substitute. I can't even go find me another woman to take the place of the mother of my kids. It's not going to happen. Best she could do is respect that child as being my child and raise that child as if that child was her child. But she is not the mother, nor can she ever fill those shoes. Get, I'm gonna pause right there, bro, because it look like you just want to unmute. No, you get
man. You because you on both parts. You right where I was thinking on this statement, especially at the ending part. I think the reason why it's important to say this, right, and let's say this, and Miss Christina Ward, she understands that this is not pointed at her, but let's make this very clear. We have to tell the truth in order to fix the problem. You are not playing mommy and daddy. Your children are fatherless. You're not playing daddy and mommy. Your children are motherless. Listen to how that sounds, how bad it sounds when it comes out. That's the problem. And everything that we've been saying is how we sustain the problem. But everything that we've been saying here at the Mindset Academy, this is how we walk past that. We have to say it. We have to acknowledge it. This is why we don't live in my truths, and we don't live in Coach's truth, and we don't live in our person. We live in a unified truth, and that truth is what truth is. And at the end of the day, we have to make it. We have to say it loud. These children are out here being raised with no fathers. There's no, you're not playing both roles. They have no father, and that sounds bad because that is a negative on the physical, the mental, and the spiritual level. That negatively impacts that child, whether it's mother missing or father missing. But we have to say it out loud so we understand how serious it is, so we can actually start fixing it and stop keep talking.
Yeah, man. And again, I want to say again, and Christina, thank you so much because I mean, she know we're not attacking her because we've had this conversation, but I just want to thank you for sharing that. Because trust me, it is a very, it's man, it's not. I mean, I think Gaddy said it plainly. It's not a good thing for a father to not want to be a father. You know what I'm saying? Like it's there's going to come a point in time in that man's life, whether that child is in their teenage years or 30 plus years old. So they're going to recognize how big of a mistake that they made. And then they're going to attempt to reconcile with that child. And unfortunately, they're going to be at that child mercy. And I pray to God that that child is merciful to actually attempt to have that relationship, that connection at that stage. But it's like the longer you wait, it just creates a bitterness, a callous, just kind of like a rebellion at that point. So, man, whatever dude out there right now that hears this, if there is a separation like that between you and your child, man, go fix it, go make it work. So, all right, man, I think we haven't been on that long enough. Got to keep going. I think that takes us to talking point number 3. And again, thank you guys, man. You guys are awesome. Talking point number 3 is that you cannot heal what you refuse to name. I say it again. You cannot heal what you refuse to name. I say it again for the 3rd time, and you just heard it again because Gaddy said it a second ago. You cannot heal what you refuse to name. So you have to stop trying to sidestep what it is and call it by its name. You go in the Bible and Christ okay, I'm not going to do that right now. Okay. Transformation does not begin when a man feels better. It begins the moment he tells the truth about where he actually is. Naming the wound is not the end of the strength. It's not the end of his strength. It's the start of his healing. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. James Baldwin. John 8:32 states that, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Now, statistically speaking, naming it is exactly the step most men skip. Only 41.5% of men with mental health conditions receive treatment, compared to 56, almost 57% of women. Again, from the National Alliance of Mental Illness. More than half of men who need help never name it to anyone who could help them. Now, Gad, I want to kind of jump over to our question here. And before I give Gaddy our question, I want to give you guys your question first. Because me and Gaddy has been going there and I've been kind of robbing you and depriving you because I messed up your poll. I apologize. So for you, what is the one truth, in your opinion, a man is most tempted to keep hidden, even from himself? And I want you guys to share it. Even if you're not a man, that's fine. Like I said, you've been married, you've got fathers, whatever that looks like. You got brothers, so you know men, right? What is the one truth a man is most tempted to keep hidden, even from himself? Now, Gaddy, as they are answering that, I want us to answer this question. Why is saying the problem out loud to a wife, to a brother, to a pastor, the one step so many men would do almost anything to avoid?
Man, the difference between reading a question and hearing you say it out loud, man, because when you were saying it, it's just like bam, scripture popped in my head, and I was trying to see how fast I could type it in. But man, I love that you asked the question, like, why are you saying the problem out loud to a wife, a brother, or a pastor? The one step many men will do almost anything to avoid. is because I can no longer I can no longer leave this thing unattended to, and I actually have to begin the uncomfortable work of addressing it, putting it on the forefront, and focusing on it long enough to fix it. And here's the thing: the confessing it part, the confessing, even when the scripture tells us to confess our sins one to another, the moment I tell you what I'm struggling with, I now have to take accountability for it. The acknowledging is a step to accountability, but accountability ain't completed until action is taken to correct whatever the fault is. And so I think we miss this step because, and let's just talk about men today. We live in a society, period, that we teach everything except accountability. We run to people because they're suffering from their own decisions, right? And we're running behind people. Oh no, it's okay. It's no, it's not okay. It's going to be okay. You keep on crying because you did it, right? To figure it out. Like, that's the one thing I do miss about when I was growing up. It was pressed upon us to figure it out, especially if it's something you did. All right, go for it. Even if we messed up when we were playing the game, all right, go back out there and figure. You come back in the house crying because you lost, because your cousin keep beating you at the same game. And guess what your daddy and your big brother's gonna keep telling you to do? Go out there and do it again. Go ahead and lose a fight in the 90s. You know what you finna go outside and do? Fight again. Knuckle. It's like we had to face the idea of failure and go see. And that's why I didn't have a problem growing up with that, with the emotions conversation, because I was taught why. No, don't cry yet. Go back out there, handle your business, and then come back in. And then we could cry. Let's see how much, because you don't want to cry after you win, even if you bloodied up. But when you win, you don't want to cry no more. Never mind, Coach. You ask your questions today, boy.
Before I answer, I want to do something, because I asked you guys a question first, and the scrolling. Thank you, Nick D, for changing that for me. It's scrolling at the bottom, and I want to go back and rehash the questions, and I want us to take a look at it. So the question that the audience is answering is, in your opinion, what is the one truth a man is most tempted to keep hidden, even from himself? I want to do something, Gaddy. I want to bring up everybody's comments that he needs help, that he needs help, that he has failed. Some have come to the point where they are uncomfortable having hard conversation. He don't know what to do to lead his family. They may fear judgment or hearing their business again or used against them. Fear of shame. Let me see.
And I think
They may fear judgment or hearing their business. Okay, it's the same thing. Every last one of them are right. There was no wrong answer in anything that was said. Everybody is right. And here's why I say that. Because I will start off by saying this, that first and foremost, I don't think, for the most part, a lot of men surround themselves with people that they can have those types of conversations with. See, I would say this in conjunction with what Gaddy said, because Gaddy said, once I share it with you, now there's accountability. Maybe. But what if I share it with a person who does not want to accept the responsibility of accountability? See, I think that's a different thing, because I think sometimes, like, let's be completely honest with you. I'm just going to use, I don't know, let's use finances as an example.
Can you say what you just said again? I'm sorry. Can you say it again?
Which part, man? I don't know. I don't know
Like, whatever you just said.
Sometimes we surround us. Okay. You said that if I share it with you, then I'm afraid, I might be afraid of accountability.
Mhm.
But in most cases, I think sometimes, and I'm saying it differently again, and differently now, so I apologize. But I think sometimes we surround ourselves with people who don't want the responsibility of accountability.
Mm.
So, an example of that, let's just say I'm not good with finances, and I look at my circle. You guys know the saying: surround yourself with 5 millionaires, you're gonna be the sixth one. I probably missed the numbers up, but y'all get the point. Well, if I surround myself with 5 people who are bad with finances, who am I gonna go to talk to when it comes down to finances? You bad with yours. You can't help me. You can't even be an accountability partner. And here's the sad part about it. I don't think finances is the only thing that we do that with. I think a lot of times we intentionally surround ourselves with people who don't challenge us. And because we surround ourselves with people who don't challenge us, now when I find myself in a pickle, a foot, or whatever you want to call it, I'm gonna go to you for you to be an accountability partner. No, you're just gonna be a consoler. Because in essence, that's what most people want. See, I'm loving all of these responses. He don't know how to lead his family. So who am I going to talk to? Somebody who ain't leading their family? He may fear judgment. I'm going to talk to somebody who ain't got no judgment in them. You can't judge me because I know something about you too. This is the issue that I have seen with my own 2 eyes. We keep connecting to low-hanging fruit. And this is not calling a person low-hanging fruit. You're choosing the easy road. They're choosing the easy road. I don't want you to say anything about me, so I'm gonna surround myself with a person you can't say nothing about me because I know too much about you. Go ahead, bro.
Is this why we only talk to people that agree with us?
Yes.
This is why Democrats don't like to have conversation with Republicans and vice versa. They
That's
get
a
in their
whole
feelings.
that's a whole nother animal right there.
No, and I'm just using that extreme
I got
for a
you.
reason. Like in politics is just a easy one for me because people get in their feelings. We're really about to get into a fist fight about 2 grown men or grown women who don't care two things about us. It ain't gonna do absolutely nothing to change the course direction of this country. And we up here fighting because of whatever skin color, gender, or affiliation they have.
Mhm.
That's crazy work.
Yeah.
That's that that. But you're right. Like everything you're just saying, it's like this is why we can't have a civilized conversation about politics because we get in our feelings. I don't want you to oppose me.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
bad.
No, you're good. And so I think that to me is one of the biggest reasons we don't surround ourselves with a person who will actually take the responsibility for accountability. So I have to be responsible first. I say it again, I have to be responsible first. A lot of us like to walk around talking about accountability, but we forget the thing called responsibility, or we mislabel responsibility, accountability, either or, right? You have to be first responsible so you can be accountable. If you're not responsible, you can't be accountable. So I need to search my social circle to ensure that every person in my circle is responsible. And if they're not responsible, I now have a responsibility to them. And if not, you are defining our relationship together. If you choose that responsibility is not the thing that you want to do, you just defined our relationship. And here's the deal. Some people don't like accountability so much that they pull away from it. Let them go. Be okay with the distance that they create. Still don't dislike them. Don't do anything against them. Let them go. Let them be happy wherever they are. Because again, they've withdrawn someplace to where no one is going to hold them accountable for their behavior or decisions. Be okay with that. Um, there's an old saying: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with somebody else. That's the responsibility and accountability circle that goes far. Fast is individual. I don't want no accountability. I don't want nobody to talk to me and tell me what they see in me. I'm just saying. I'm bro, people. Listen, There's not one coaching session I've had to where that's not a talking point. Not one. Not one. Even the one in my entire coaching practice ever, out of what, man, 9 years, the one person I turned down, the reason why I turned that person down, because they would not accept accountability. They needed to talk about somebody else. At that point, I said, I can't help you. You need to go find a counselor.
Got to get past this era of telling everybody that they did a good job, everybody that they look nice, can't tell nobody nothing wrong, because we've conditioned people. We literally conditioned people that accountability is hate. If I hold you accountable, I hate. Like, we talk about this, we are so far in the red spiritually. Like, we're so far in the red that, like, some of these things, some of these scriptures we quote, and like we can quote them in every conversation almost, because it's just like, woe unto those who will call good evil and evil for good. Like, you hate accountability because you want to be able to live in your mess. But unfortunately, the reality is I had to learn. And I think, and even for somebody like me, I get so hyper fixated on this is what I've learned that I get frustrated or mad when other people don't see it. But here's the thing that I learned. And this is something that you think that everybody would understand, but people don't get it. There's 8 billion other people on this planet with you. It can't possibly be all about you doing whatever you want to do. You got to know that what you do affects somebody else, whether you understand that or not. It does. That's why you need accountability, because we miss the mark every time when we get selfish. And that's what lack of accountability shows, is selfishness. And we miss the mark. You're never going to find the Most High. You're never going to meet his mark as long as you think that this is a you game.
You know what every relationship problem breaks down to? Every one of them, it breaks down to responsibility and accountability. That's it. That's it. I can't stress that enough. Every relationship problem goes back to those two things: responsibility and accountability. What am I responsible for, and what am I asking for accountability of? That's it. That's always the answer. And here's the funny part about it. Not only that, I also believe that a lot of times, and I'm just going to talk about me for a second, because I'm the safest person to talk about, because I want to offend nobody. When I was younger, I did not know. That's kind of going back to what we're saying: provide and protect. What am I responsible for? In my mind, it was provide and protect. But the true answer, everything. That was the answer that I did not know. I was responsible for everything. And seeing this, not seeing this growing up allowed me to relinquish most things. Because if it didn't fall into the realm of provide, protect, and respect, that's how let me tell you something. You want to make a man mad? Let it fall under respect. He's going to argue with you tooth and nail. Guarantee it. But because I didn't know, then I didn't realize I was responsible for everything. But once I learned that, I was like, oh, okay. Now, here's the kicker that most people don't want to hear. Who am I responsible to? See, most of us believe that I'm responsible to her. Wrong. I'm not responsible to her. I'm responsible to the Most High. And I'm going to have to give an account for that. Now, here's the kicker. It's going to make a lot of y'all like hit the off button, close your laptop, walk out the room and throw something against the wall, probably throw your cell phone. Who is she responsible to? See, most of y'all say the Most High. She's responsible to him, me. That's what the definition of two become one means. But see, we don't get that. We don't understand that. We still talking about we're two separate individuals. No, but you're not. Read the scriptures. It never said that. It says, no more twain are they. So he's responsible to the Most High. She's responsible to him. Now we have some responsibility established. Now accountability must happen. So when she sees me messing up, she is now my accountability partner. Say, hey, can we talk for a second? Because you're responsible to him, and I'm seeing what you're doing, and I'm not chastising you. I'm not judging. I'm not yelling. I'm just bringing it to your attention and let you do it as you may. That's it. Easy conversation. Not you talking to him like he your child. But here's the best part about it. It's the exact same thing the other side as well. Because if before he got married, he was studying, he understands what the bride of Christ looks like. So he has a working knowledge of what a bride is. So when he sees you not being a helpmeet, like, hey, can I talk with you for a second? Because this kind of goes outside of what we agreed to. Mm-hmm. Not chastising, not judging, not cussing out, not any of those things, because she ain't your child. So now you have responsibility established, you have accountability established, and most importantly, you have understanding in the household. Never had that.
Bro. You, we ain't gonna get to the last point, mess with you. I'm just saying. No, because back to the woe. See what I say? I can keep quoting the same scripture. Isaiah said it. Woe unto them called good, evil good. We putting understand. Ha Satan, and ha just means the, right? Satan means adversary. So the adversary, right? So Satan in his name.
See, when you start pronouncing things different, you lose it. Satan, Satan. That's what he said.
So the adversary, ha Satan, right? So the problem is we don't understand that what the enemy is coming to do is to create a counterfeit version of everything the Father is doing, right? And when we realize that and we go back and we analyze, this is why the only way that you are supposed to discern is based upon what is written in the. Stop discerning off of your feelings. I'm sorry, boo boo. That wasn't the Holy Spirit. That was heartburn. I mean, that was that was your feelings, right? Because we do this so much and we go down these rabbit holes and we've broken up so many families off of somebody's discernment or intuition, whatever they want to call it, on a Friday night. But my bad. But we have to get to a place to where that's the deciding factor of what I'm discerning against. Because if not, we will be caught for the counterfeit. And the counterfeit is in the room. I'm sorry to tell you. But this idea that the man is showing up in the man, because think about how we do in relationships now. Happy wife, happy life. So the man is doing whatever he needs to do to adjust to the woman instead of being who, and then we wonder why the men are running around here not feeling like they are loved or appreciated in their own home. Because you've given the authority over, there's nothing else to appreciate. It's sad. It's sad that we say it like that, but that is the truth. Once you give up your leadership in the home, she has nothing else or no reason to appreciate. For what? Only thing you're doing is pay the bill. If you leave, she's gonna go get a job and pay the bills herself. I'm just saying what I'm saying. So if you're not, woe unto them who call good evil, evil good.
Indeed. You know what? It's been brought to my attention that we still got 2 more points. Listen, if you guys have not registered for August 8th, again, free webinar, the relational intelligence webinar, I don't think you want to miss that, especially if this is what we're talking about. Okay. So make sure you scan that QR code and make sure that you get after. Listen, I am going to do something. I haven't done this in a while, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you point number 4, right? And then we're going to keep moving forward. We're not going to answer the question for point number 4 because I want to get to point number 5 because I don't want to leave you out. So if you guys can agree to stay with us just a couple of extra minutes tonight, we're going to try to get through this so that we give you everything that we have. Okay. That said, talking point number 4 is isolation is where brokenness grows teeth. I say again, isolation is where brokenness grows teeth. Isolation generally happens when people get to the point of understanding something is actually wrong, but they do not name it, they do not talk to anybody, and they think if they go into isolation, it's going to go away. It will not. A man suffers most, not in the breaking, but in the bearing it alone. Brokenness carried in secret turns into shame, and shame in isolation turns into despair. God never designed a man to be his own rescue. C.S. Lewis said, friendship is born at the moment when one man says to another, what? You two? I thought that no one but myself, dot, dot, dot. So again, when we have these shared things go on, now you will find that there's a connection that actually happens. The book of Ecclesiastes 4, 9 through 10 says two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he hath not another to help him up. And again, I advise you, go take a look at the fellow, go look at the word fellow, look up the word fellow. The word fellow goes a whole lot further than what you tend to most time think about. Statistical data here, men are more alone than they've ever been in generations. I say again, men are more alone than they've ever been in generations. The share of men reporting no close friends rose from 3% in 1990 to 15% in 2021 and is still rising. I would bet, especially because of social media. So I want you guys to kind of digest that, process that. Again, isolation is not the answer. So if you're choosing isolation over liberation, then I invite you to stop doing so. Talking point number 5 is brokenness is the doorway God uses, not the dead end the enemy claims. The place a man is most ashamed of is often the exact place God begins to rebuild. Brokenness is not proof that God has left. In scripture, it's repeatedly the address where he shows up. Shame says, this is where your story ends. God says, this is where I begin. Ernest Hemingway said, the world breaks everyone. And afterwards, many are strong at the point at the broken places. Okay. You got Psalms 34:18 says, the Lord is nigh unto them that are of broken heart, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit. So statistical data here says that brokenness is not the exception. It's nearly universal. I say again, brokenness is not the exception. It is nearly universal. More than 4 in 5 men, that's 83%, y'all, report experiencing stress in the past 6 months. Almost every man watching is carrying something at this very moment. The question was never whether you're broken, it's whether you will let it become your doorway. So, and I'm going to do this again. Audience, you first. If brokenness really is a doorway, and this has nothing to do with men specific at this point, if brokenness really is a doorway and not a dead end, what is the very first step a man or a woman takes to walk through it? I ask it again. If brokenness really is a doorway and not a dead end, what is the very first step a man or a woman takes to walk through it? Brother Gadget, for you, sir, how does shame keep a man from believing his lowest moment could ever become his testimony?
Man, so everything we talked about tonight, there's cycles that lead down to this to this place, this dark place for men. Because shame is a dark place for men. Because many of us won't go into a place that we know the people that we are embarrassed around or have shamed ourselves around are there. We will, which means we'll probably shy away from networking opportunities, and we'll shy away from, you know, the opportunities to go to functions to meet. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so that affects our life, right? That affects our ability to maintain or to grow in whatever it is that we're doing. That's out in the world, right? But the problem is when we get into a place in shame, for a man, and the reason why I mention that it's a dark place because there's so much that has to go into a man's mind before he becomes now ashamed of who he is as a man. Because I can be ashamed of a situation, I may have bombed a meeting, bombed a client, or I made a mistake, said the wrong word on the podcast, or you know, gave the wrong definition. I could be, embarrassed, and but that moment when you become ashamed of who you are as a man, when you look back and take inventory of your life, and you're not, you don't feel complete, right? And we're going to pivot it, but a lot of people don't realize that this thing is heavy on men. We and and the question is, how does shame keep a man from believing his lowest moments can ever become his testimony? Because, and what tends to happen, the coach talked about the people who don't want to accept accountability, the responsibility of accountability, but then there's the people who don't want to see you succeed, period, that are masquerading as friends. And a lot of these people are hanging around as leeches, and you're going to them for good advice, and they're giving you all the good advice to keep you trapped in your cycle and keep you down. Because here's the reality: there's somebody that hangs around you just to put you down because they can't keep up with where you are or where you're going. And these are, whether you're male or female, this is a reality. And so when we get around people like that, they feed that shame as men. They feed that because they live off of being able to lord over you in your lowest. There are people out there that know that you specifically, that if you rise up out of your shame and walk into your true identity in the Most High and in Christ, that you cannot be stopped. But some people fear of that your success will be their downfall. And so there's people that secretly plotting against you. All right. And so these things, we got people that speaking negativity into us. We see everything. We see people that are younger than us, doing better than us, getting degrees higher than us. Uh-oh. Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Because if everything we just talked about, and I'm speaking about a specific group of people first, and I make it make sense.
Mm-hmm.
If everything that we just talked about was true, always had been true, that the husband is responsible to the Most High, the wife is responsible to the husband. His success is her success is his success. But then there's this hint of competition that exists between men and women. But yet we're talking about the shame that God has placed responsibility on in the home. Wouldn't it just make sense that she speak into him in his lowest moments so that shame does not exist?
That would make sense. That would be for her betterment.
Is that not an easy solution? Why is that so hard to do?
Because somebody's telling our women that they're supposed to be in the position of the man.
Mm.
And so we compete. If I got to compete with you to be a man, I don't want to be in that space.
I just want to hear you say it, really.
But that's real talk.
Listen, people, we need to stop competing. That's all it is. Gad is not my competition. Gad is my brother. Listen, if y'all really let this set in, if you were in the household of faith, if you were in the body of Christ, I'm not competing against you. You're my brother. You're my sister. That's the answer. None of you, man or woman, should ever exist in shame because it stifles the information flow between you and the Holy Spirit. You don't see yourself as viable. You don't see yourself as being worthy enough to hear from him. You're ashamed. You are literally, and I'm sorry, Gad, I feel like I just cut you off. I apologize. I was just sitting here just stewing on this, man, because you was right in there. But it's like, you don't see yourself as being viable enough to be husband. You're ruminating on the thing that you've named within yourself but haven't named out loud. You already got the name. You keep thinking about it. You keep focusing your attention on it. So how can I be the person that's responsible to the Most High for my family when I keep focusing on the thing that I did that actually pulls me outside of His will? You did it, own it, announce it, accept it, repent, move on. That's the answer. But you keep thinking on it. You're trying to keep it a secret. And here's the funny part about it. And I know I said it before, and Gad, I'm gonna be quiet, man. Let you finish what you said. My mess up is your mess up. Your mess up is my mess up. We in this together. Al Jarreau. I don't know why we have this individualistic idea of what marriage. That is so wrong. And I know this ain't the marriage show, this the man show, but the man is supposed. Okay, y'all get it. Y'all get it.
But does the marriage not start? The buck not start right here?
I mean,
this is and too often we allow the conversation to start somewhere else, but the conversation starts right here with men. There's men coming together to have this conversation. Where are the men at? Where are the men at?
absolutely.
And so when I look into the chats and I see, we have these conversations every week for at least the 3 years I've been getting on here with you, bro. It feels like longer than that. But in that time frame, I'm looking like we're having these great conversations. Where are the men at? And so it makes me inclined to start to believe that the men don't, even though we know the numbers don't say that, but make you want to believe the men don't want to make this thing work. Or maybe somewhere along the lines, we started viewing each other through the same lenses of our mothers. And so we don't like each other just like they don't like us in a large part. In a large part. I'm not talking about totality, but and so we don't support when other men are trying to lift up other men like we're supposed to.
Indeed.
I'm sorry.
No, you good. You good. You said something. I refuse to comment on it because that's going to start another rabbit hole. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Listen, I know we went a little bit overboard real quick. I want to kind of get into our final thoughts because, again, I do not want to rob you guys of anything. I robbed you enough of talking point number 4, but I know you guys are in it and on it. So, so I got it. But that being said, this takes us to our bittersweet moment, our final thoughts.
Once again, if I hit the mic button, people can hear me talk. I apologize. I love this conversation. The power of acknowledging your brokenness. There's a moment. I did hear when Coach said that loneliness is where this thing, brokenness, grows teeth. But sometimes getting to a place where the noise can stop can actually give us that time. You got to use that alone time wisely, right? You get that alone time. You have to get there to start to analyze exactly where we are, where we're going, and what steps we need to make right here where I'm at right now to get there. Because what's happening is not working. A lot of us can agree on that in a lot of spaces in our life, that what we're doing right now is not working. But now that I have openly admitted that my brokenness in this area, calling that area out, now I can begin to make a plan on what it looks like to take steps in the right direction of becoming whole. Becoming whole, of course, in the Most High. But I love that you brought that up, because one of my favorite scriptures that I bring up all the time is Isaiah 28, right? And we always talk about when he said, when he tells them line must be upon line and precept must be upon precept. But I love verse 13, right? When we talk about brokenness, especially that last point. He says, "But the word of the Lord was unto them precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line upon line, here a little and there a little, that they might go and fall backwards and be broken and snared and taken." Sometimes we look at this brokenness as if it's the end of the road or the end of the rope, as if we're just going to let go and we're just going to fall off. No, brokenness is opportunity. So you got to change your focus on your lens so that you can see things in its proper perspective, because your brokenness is not the end. It may be the end of an era that you're in now, so that he can begin to put you back onto the potter's table and begin to spin the clay over again, because it's something new that needs to be done. But here's how it happens. You have to fall backwards and be broken. This is what the word of the Most High does. So if you think that you're going to escape brokenness by chasing the Most High, wrong. It's going to be embraced, because the word is going to break you. It's going to expose you. Then it's going to break you. Then you're going to realize the only thing left for you to do is to allow the potter to put you back on the potter's wheel. Stop trying to think that you can make it yourself, fix it yourself, get there on your own. We can't. We need the Most High. We need the Holy Spirit, and we need each other. That's all I got. Y'all know I can keep going. I love this conversation.
Man, I love it too, man, and I greatly appreciate you being there. I think this is probably one of the most important things that we don't talk enough about. We don't necessarily talk enough about brokenness and what that really means. And I think sometimes what we do is we overvalue the fact that we have been broken, looking for sympathy and all those other great things, and we undervalue what that brokenness actually means and what it can actually do for us. See, no one is rejecting your experience. You've been through something. We've all been through something. The thing that I've been through is no more important than the thing that you've been through. The thing that I've been through is no more worse. And in some cases, some of us been through some very bad things, right? But I can't say that what I've been through was worse than what you've been through. Only thing I can say is that I experienced it and it affected me in a particular way. And I think that's a very important thing for us to say. And I think if you're with us tonight and this conversation resonates with you, touch you in any shape, form, or fashion, I think by virtue of that, you were intended to be here. I think there are people who join us every time we go live, just simply because they are part of this community. They value this community, they value what we actually do in this community, and we greatly appreciate those people for showing up all the time. But then I think that there are some people who show up and they be like, "Man, I needed to hear that." Well, you were supposed to be there for that particular conversation, just like you were supposed to be here for this one. But I'm not done, because I actually have 5 more things I want to share with you guys before we get out. Because I believe that brokenness actually shows up in the Bible in 5 different ways. The first one is brokenness. You're broken because of yourself, right? This kind of brokenness is inwards, a contrite spirit over our own sinfulness, which leads to humility, surrender, and godly repentance. But then there's number 2, and number 2 is broken people can crush people. I like to believe that hurt people, and conversely, healed people. And I think that's what we do a very good job here in the Mindset Academy. But broke people hurt people, right? And it's true what they say. Since we're all born with fractured and dark hearts, our intentions, speech, and actions divide, separate, and damage other people. And a lot of times we do it unintentionally, unbeknownst to us, or whatever the case may be. It does not make it any less detrimental. So I didn't intend to does not account for the impact of. Number 3 is the world is broken, and it breaks us too. No one gets through life without feeling the brokenness of the world. If you've ever gotten a shocking phone call, or suffered an intense physical sickness, or lost someone you love, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Number 4, broken lives unexpected beauty. Now, this one is a very different and difficult one to see, but if you inspect the life of any well-known Christian, somebody who, and I'm not talking about the ones that make the tabloids all the time either, but anyone who is a author or pastor or whatever, and if you talk to them, I think what you'll find and hear them share with you is that they've been through some things that shaped their lives, right? Bringing them into moments of strength, but they can go back to that point, which they will call a dark moment. And then the last one is what I will call a broken Christ for broken people. Here's the brokenness that makes the worst of life bearable: the brokenness of Christ, where we are forever known, held, loved, understood, and befriended in our brokenness and whatever it entails. Why? Because he experienced it first. And so I think when you look at all of these things combined together, and whether you agree or disagree, that's not the point. The point is whether or not you can see or not see. And if you can see that just based upon virtue of anything that was shared tonight, not only do I commend you for being here, I applaud you for being here. And one last time, I share with you, that's not the only thing we do. Scan that QR code. Make sure that you're with us on August 8th at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, because I think that we're going to share some things that's going to continue to develop you and understanding. Plus, there's something free in there as well. So why not get the free? Okay. Listen, you guys are awesome. Greatly appreciate you. Brother Gaddy, as always, man, I appreciate you. I love you, brother. I love all you guys in the chat. Again, tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. I'm about to say EM, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, reframing the image of relationship. Make sure you show up early. Show up early, because I think I got something for you. So that being said, listen, you guys are awesome. Let the best versions of yourself be a blessing to somebody else. And we will see you guys in the morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.